Welcome to another CO2 Monday in the Refrigeration Mentor podcast. I'm your host, Trevor Matthews, and today I got a special guest. Actually, a guy, once again, I met at Atmosphere America. That's a
Yeah,
great event. Like, if you ever heard of it, never heard of it, they put events on all around the world. They're called Atmosphere. They used to be formerly known as Sheco, but man, they helped introduce me to so many different amazing people in the industry. And I've heard about you guys before that, but this week we got Jim VanderGiessen from Pro Refrigeration. This guy has been in the industry for many years, second generation, maybe even third generation. We're gonna find out a lot more about Jim and his company and his team. We had Damon Reed, his COO, on last July, I believe it was. Great conversation. This guy knows his stuff inside and out. Super having someone like that on your team makes your team, so it's super amazing. Jim, welcome to CO2 Mondays with Trevor. How you doing, brother?
I'm doing very good. Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome. So I know most of the people here. There are a lot of people that are on that been following CO2 Monday for a long time. They know lots about Pro Refrigeration. You're the first chiller manufacturer in North America to design a CO2 transcritical chiller, and we're going to dive into some of that stuff. But let's get to know you a little bit. Let's find out about a little bit about your background. How did you get into this industry? And let's talk about where we're going to be going with chillers in the future. We'll get into it deep.
Sure, you bet. You want me just to dive right in?
Yeah, so I know 30 years you've been in the industry, probably even more than that now, eh?
That's correct. Well, yeah, 33 years. My dad and I started the company together when I in 1990, but I didn't. It's really it was on his shoulders that we built it. He'd been in the industry. He'd sold dairy equipment and designed refrigeration equipment for many years. So it was a but yeah, we went into business in 1990 with a focus to figure out a better way to cool milk. He had a theory about instant cooling it, and it wasn't a theory; it was something that people were working really hard to try to perfect, and that kind of got us on the path to building chiller systems and to where we are today.
Yeah, I love it. I love it because after I heard about you, I started research more about Pro Refrigeration, all the different things you guys have going on. You have lots of different types of equipment,
Yeah,
hybrid equipment, and transcritical CO2 equipment, which we're gonna
yeah,
dive in because that's super cool to see that you guys are way ahead of the curve than most chiller manufacturers out there, even around the world. I don't even know. I'm sure there may be some, and you may know them, but I don't know any here in Canada, any chiller manufacturers that do CO2, as well as even in the US. Hopefully,
yeah. No, and our goal was to add the CO2, have that as an option, and it started as kind of or it was just an idea, a brainstorming idea with our executive team. And the more we looked into it, the more we convinced ourselves and fortunately some of our customers and partners that it was the direction that the industries were going to go, and that's where it took off. Every step of the way it just kind of has proven itself out, and it's been exciting. We installed our first system almost 18 months ago, and now this year we'll have 6 systems in operation,
wow.
and most of them are concentrated down in California. So that's gives us a nice concentrated group to work with and operate and design with. So we've learned a lot there. And then we have one system up in Talkeetna, Alaska. So we're in one of the warmest places in the US and one of the coldest up in Alaska, which it's been phenomenal. It's been a lot of work, but it's been, the data we've been able to collect and the hurdles we've been able to overcome have been very valuable.
And that's what's going to be so amazing about this. You're getting one of the coldest places, one of the warmest places. So when you start selling hundreds and hundreds of these a year,
Yeah.
you're going to
Yeah.
know how to perfect it in these areas that are like where I live. It's a perfect area. Floor would be for them
Oh,
because, subcritical most of the time,
yep.
and lots of people are like, oh, you can't have CO2 transcritical system in hot areas or it's going to be difficult to do. You're doing it. It's
Yes.
done. You got 6 of
Mhm.
them in the hot,
Mhm.
some of the hottest places. So this is what's amazing, and I'm sure there was a lot of a lot of times that you were scratching your head, like in your team, like what are we doing? You know what I mean? And I'm sure it wasn't easy days 18, you know what I mean, 18 months ago. And I'm sure Damon was scratching his head many times. He was like, what do we do here? But you push through, and now you're on the other side. There's going to be
Yep.
lots more to learn. but you got 6 out there and running, which is amazing, you know.
Yeah.
Why don't we talk
That's
about that, a bit of that journey, making it over the hurdle, going from your, HFCs. Now let's make that move. So 18 months ago, you did the first one, and now you have 6. What was that journey like to get over that hurdle? Because there's a lot of mindset there. You just said you had to talk to your customers, you had to talk to a lot of people,
right.
you worked with a lot of people. How did you get to that point where like we got to do this?
Well, I think one thing we did was we mapped out a pretty good plan. We even down to the customer profile that we wanted. We work with a great network of dealers across the United States that essentially build these dairy farms from the ground up. And they're electricians, fabricators, and they do everything. And they've been huge partners. And we had to make sure we were partnered with the right dealer and then find the right customer. And we had requirements that required them to keep their old system, just to have that there on standby. And set the expectation that, hey, we could need to have the new CO2 system offline for extended periods as we updated and discovered different things. And we've had to lean on them a little bit, not as much as, but we have, and but it's helped us continue to develop the product and get to where we are. So but yeah, you're exactly right. The first step was finding the right partner. And that was Bill Youngsma. He's the dairy farmer in California, Pixley, California, and then our dealer down there, San Joaquin Valley Dairy Equipment. And having them come in, and we all stepped up to the plate on the first one. We all had teeth in the game, and we were all committed to making it work. And then on that project especially, we had Future Green now was a consulting engineering group that out of South Africa. They were great partners on it, and helped us get out of the gates, and really gave us our crash course in CO2 that we're continuing to learn on. And it's it took all aspects of that, plus our suppliers, and the list goes on and on. But it was a lot of people that really thought it was a cool project. They really liked what we were doing and what we were trying to prove, and they wanted to be a part of it. So it was a team effort that got us on the first one. And then with each unit, when you're building them that way, and our 6th unit is one we're starting in production right now. We have 5 units out in the field. I didn't want to go too far down on that, but it's the development has been, if we wouldn't have been able to do that, we would not be near as far as where we are today. That makes sense.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense. And this is what's cool about the industry, our industry, especially when I meet more and more people getting involved with natural refrigerant and CO2, is like people want to work with it, want to figure it out, because it's a big mystery at first. And 18
Yep.
months ago it was a big mystery, but each unit, each time you work with a new customer trying to develop them that right product, you're making the steps. It's always those stepping stones. Like I always say, small, simple steps, and this is it. You're taking the small, simple steps, working towards it. Because I'm sure there was a lot of naysayers saying,
Oh yeah.
"Jim, this is not going to work."
Oh yeah.
Going into CO2, there's probably dozens of people telling you that this is not going to work. Why are you wasting it? It's going to cost you 3, 4, 5 times the amount of your regular system. Why would you do that? You know what I mean? And that right there would be the mindset side of it. Like, oh, all these people are telling me it's not going to work. You proved them all wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah, and this is it.
And we're continuing to, yeah. And to that, and it wasn't easy. We've got investors that we put a lot of money in the effort. So, and it was a big step, and it took a lot of, and fortunately I've got, some amazing partners that have supported us. But yeah, it was I don't joke anymore, but I always say, it always, I always, it always takes longer and it always costs more. And I keep continuing to prove that theory out,
That's right.
but it's been good. Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that, because now the upfront costs a lot more, but you're going to see the dividends pay year over year, because it's not only the system that they're getting. There's, with this CO2, there's new benefits compared to the older system. And I'm sure we're going to dive into some of that and you can talk about that. But for an example, like a lot of these, and I'm not too much into agriculture and the dairy stuff, but a lot of them need like hot water and stuff for probably
Yep.
cleaning the vats out and cleaning all the old pasteurized milk or whatever's in there, I'm assuming. So that's probably one benefit of using a CO2 transcritical chiller over just a standard HFC. Would that be correct?
Absolutely. That's our number one, value statement that we're using right now when we're trying to quantify it to the dairy farmers. And that's why our big push right now is in the dairy industry, because they can value the most, from the heat that the heat recovery. We call it waste heat. To the rest of the world, it's CO2 is the heat source, and that's what it's becoming. It's not only cooling their milk, but it's the primary heating source for all of their hot water in their facilities. And that's a big part of it. That's a huge part of dairy farming is sanitation, as you pointed out.
Yeah, no, and that's great to know. So your first partner here you work with, I know this probably was a scary journey at first because it was the unknown, and you got to
Yep.
this point. How are they feeling now with the system that you put in that first system? It's 18 months, it's been running. How are
Mhm.
they feeling in the conversation you guys have about this system, this new system that you guys put in for them?
I asked Bill Youngsma direct, and Bill's family. His dad is John Youngsma. I think he has over 100,000 cows between all of his sibling or all of the Bill's siblings and nephews out there, and family members that have dairies. But I said point blank, I said, Bill, if you were ever going to build a farm or upgrade a farm at his scale, his current farm's a little over 3,000 cows or around that range. I said, would you ever consider doing it without CO2? And even knowing, he knows what the current price is. His price was he was a partner on the project, but he said he didn't even hesitate in his answer too. And Bill knows value, and and that's what we've proven in it. It hasn't been easy though, and
Yeah.
it's just undeniable when you see just being able, with our previous synthetic based refrigerant systems, which was our 404, or we were using our 404A as his primary refrigerant. It was a system we built. But I mean, you could realistically heat your water, and I'll use Fahrenheit, or I'm going to use Fahrenheit to 125 degrees, which they needed to get it to 160 to effectively utilize it. Well, we can go to 180 with the CO2, and in the summertime we need to, we rely on the water also to help us with the gas cooling. So it's just a win-win proposition for dairy farmers. So
Yeah, because now if you could only get 125, 130 Fahrenheit before, so 110 Celsius or no, not that much, sorry, 40, 45, 50 Celsius. Um uh they would have to have an external heat source. So I'm assuming they
correct.
would be using propane or natural gas. And
Boilers,
farm, I
yep,
guess it would be propane.
and
So
natural gas,
and
propane and
natural
natural
gas.
gas is real common. Yep.
Yeah, so I can't like there must be incremental savings right there. Yes, this
Tremendous.
system costs more up front. Do you even have like any kind of numbers that they would save in that?
We do. This is just from the actual dairy producers or the farmers. One farm is they're saving over 50 gallons of propane a day. In that's per day, yeah. And then 71 gallons was a recent report or monthly report we got on another farm. So it's, yeah, like 26,000 gallons in a year was what we were seeing on one farm. And that's on dairy, and our other, we're having some real exciting discussions on the distillery side, who distilleries just use a tremendous amount of heat.
Yeah.
Heating and cooling is the gas pedal and the brakes of those operations. So we had to double check our numbers, on the ROIs we were calculating out, because it was a game changer for sure. We're excited about what we're seeing, not just in dairy, but other markets too.
Yeah, but even like that's huge. You just said
Yeah.
26,000
Yeah.
gallons of propane. Like, and that's not only the propane, somebody has to go pick it up. You have to service it. You need someone to move it around. You need to have equipment that needs to be repaired if it's a boiler or whatever. All these
Yeah.
different things,
Then
maintenance,
burn it.
burn it. Like there's a not only the cost for that fuel, but all those other incremental costs. That's amazing. And now moving into the brewing industry, like because I do some craft brewing myself,
Mhm.
and you do need a lot of heat.
Yep.
You need a
Yep.
lot of heat. So would be a great market for a system like that. So
Absolutely.
right now, are all your CO2 systems on farming sites, or are they on breweries as well, or what? Are they both right now? Or
We have four. The four in California are on dairy farms,
okay,
and they're all within a 50-mile radius. So it's a
okay,
nice,
yeah,
nice. We're we're really excited about those. And then we have one system, which was the second system we built, and that's been in operation. We went through our first winter. We're going through our first winter now with it, so it's been interesting. But that's for a longtime customer, Denali Brewing and Distilling, and it was, even though they're a large brewery, craft brewer up in Alaska, that this is for their distillery side for a pasteurization system they were putting in, is what the equipment's supporting.
That is awesome. Because I know I did talk with Damon quite a bit about how the advancement of some of these systems, because in a CO2 transcritical system, you have more temperature probes and more pressure probes, more electronic valves and electronic control. And he was telling me one of the huge advantages, he could dial in to this system
Oh yeah.
and start looking at it and troubleshooting remotely. And he said working with his customer was so important and key, teaching them and educating them on things to look for. But in the end, that he can still look at the data, and that's what's so amazing. I'm not saying that HFC you could not do that, you just
Right.
wouldn't, because too much cost.
It's not required.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
required. It's
Yeah.
required in CO2 system, and now that gives you a huge advantage, being thousand, could be thousands of miles away, but still understand what is happening in the system. I am sure you guys have learned, and I know Damon told me he has learned a lot on the chiller systems themselves, just be able to see this extra data.
Oh, absolutely. We had a tech in Alaska, and I know it was I don't know how cold it was. They had seen temperatures much colder, but yeah, it was neat to have Damon, monitoring remotely from North Carolina. We had FGN was providing some help, some assistance. They were logged in from South Africa, and we just, and then John was the only one who had to experience the extreme cold with our partners, Arctic Refrigeration, and the team at Denali Brewing. But it was to have the resources, and for them to have that visibility to make those changes that's the game changer.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So this is great. So you got 5 CO2 transcritical chillers out in the field. You have
Yeah,
one on the production floor. I know that you guys just launched a hybrid style.
yeah.
So you have transcritical CO2 on one side, and I believe it's probably 448 on the other side, or
It
what?
was R448, correct.
Or
Mhm.
448 on that side. And so, do you want to talk a little bit about that and why you went in that direction of doing a hybrid chiller compared to just going still full CO2?
We did. The main drive, this was a unique opportunity, and but I think so it wasn't our intent. It was kind of a project that was already sold. And then what happened is we had come out with our CO2 systems, or they had heard about it and seen the system at Bill Youngsma's or one of the other ones. And they said, hey, we have this order pending. It's a large dairy facility. But their budget was set because they already had the equipment. And their original strategy for cooling the milk was on this farm was to use a 3-stage cooling process. So they would use well water to cool the first stage. They would use a high temperature chiller for the second phase of cooling, and then a third chiller would do the final cooling. And what we sat down with them and looked at ways that we could incorporate the CO2. And with CO2, as you know, if we're not, or for us, it's waste heat. So we wanted to make sure that we could run that 100 horse CO2 system as the primary, run it all the time, and then offer instead of having 2 separate chillers, and then we would back that up to provide the additional cooling needed. And that's how we came up with the hybrid unit, and using the same coolant reservoir in a single temperature system. We designed the CO2 to generate all of their hot water, do 90% of the cooling, and then the 3 R448 circuits are primarily there as backup cooling. If they ever lose their CO2 system, or it needs to go down for an extended period, they've got the synthetic solution there as backup cooling. But also on dairy farms, as in any other business, they have their high strings and their lower producing strings, and it's also to help them cover the high string period and the high production period on the farm. And the dollars and cents decision was it was once we kind of all got our heads together, and this was working with our dealer, San Joaquin Valley Dairy Equipment, and a few different people, it just kept making more and more sense. And I think this will be a standard. Hopefully this will be kind of a standard configuration. We might not do it on one skid, but the process and design, I think, will be a way we can help customers justify CO2 sooner.
Yeah, and this is what's really cool. They already purchased a synthetic refrigerant unit, and they're coming to you say, "Can we upgrade to CO2
Yes.
transcritical?" So that is a really good sign because they're seeing the benefits of it,
Yep.
and there's going to be many, many more benefits that they're going to start to see. Because I'm continuing to see different benefits that people don't even think about. Because at first it's, oh, it's high energy, high energy, high energy. But if you're removing boilers, if you're removing purchasing other products that you need to satisfy that end result, there's a lot of other benefits, which is super
And we're
cool.
putting variable frequency drives on all the motors, just that step, which is, again, we could do that on our HFC systems also, but it's just for the CO2, the Pro Green design, it's incorporated into it, and it's that's the difference maker also.
Yeah. Well, why don't we talk a little bit about that Pro Green design? Because I know there's Pro Refrigeration, and now you have the Pro Green design. Is this separate? Like, is this a separate division inside Pro Refrigeration?
Well, when it started, we called our Pro Green team, and that included our dealer, that included our strategic partners that have made an investment in that first initial project. But now we just call the Pro Green as anything, that's built with the CO2 refrigeration design.
Awesome.
But it's one product in our whole product offering that goes from 3/4 horsepower chiller systems to several hundred horsepower, including the hybrid that has both R448 and R744.
Awesome. Why don't we dive into some of that? Yeah. So what is the next steps? Because I know you guys are diligent. You guys make hundreds and hundreds of chillers a year. I
Yes.
know, and I know you're going to get to a point where you're up to thousands of chillers. I'm just telling you that this is how you're going to grow, and I know. So you got hundreds and hundreds of chillers a year you're making, and you're going to have a lot more. What is the next steps for Pro Refrigeration, and how are you going to get there?
We're going to continue to ramp up the natural refrigerant side. I'm about halfway to where I thought I'd be at this point with how I'm always a little optimistic on how quickly we can adapt and promote. But I like we have we're fortunate to be involved in a lot of markets that can really benefit from the CO2 system. And one strategy that we took is we just developed this one product offering, and it's 100 horsepower. It's designed, and that's what we're really getting good at. And soon we'll be adding and expanding onto it. But that's and so what we're kind of doing, it is nice because they're the larger projects. They're with some of our key longtime partners and customers too. But we can, not that you can ever pick and choose or call it low-hanging fruit, but we can kind of target specific areas where we know the benefit will be the most, and we can support it the most. As you know, with CO2 and the training and everything that goes into it, it's a big lift for any of our dealer partners for them to sell a system, and that's why we've kind of taken the concentrated approach with a key dealer down in California for us all to kind of learn the steps in the process and before we expand out. So.
And I think that's a great idea of working closely with certain partners to start to develop it, because there's going to be trial and error. There's going to be some
Yes.
failing at first, and you're going to fall on your face, but you get back up and you keep working with them. And I think this is a great approach where you're working and focusing on this one type of equipment, and you get really rock solid at it. The other ones are going to come a lot easier and easier. That's for sure.
Right.
And I like what you said, the training aspect. And I know Damon talked a lot about training. What do you think about the training that you guys do and to develop for your partners, for your technicians, for your contractors as well that you work with? And what's your view on training for CO2?
It's critical. It's important. I am kind of old school. I tell all of our technicians, and my son is one of our technicians, they don't know how fortunate they are to have resources like your own, or like the the product that your training programs that you offer, and all the stuff that's out there now. But it's critical, and it's a big part of what we're doing. And our dealers, and this goes back 30 years since we started, they've always, we rely on each other, obviously, but they rely on us to tell them what kind of training, they need for their crews to take care and service and install and maintain our equipment. So it's and this is no different than that, other than it's even more and more important. And how we do it, or one strategy we took, because we know that a lot of our dealers have never worked with CO2, so it's going to be their first experience with it. So we always try to also partner with an industrial contractor in the area who does have general CO2 knowledge and can kind of be there as a safety net, and to be called in, when and if it's needed. And fortunately, we haven't had to go to that, but just having that resource there has been huge also.
How was the learning curve for your team, like your manufacturing team? Because that has to be a little bit different, a little bit new. 18 months ago, you delivered your first piece of equipment, but before that, a lot of the stuff, the different valves, the different
Yeah.
piping, how did that go for that when you were starting that first system?
It's a challenge. Some experience that was helpful was we have done some contract manufacturing in the past where we're building to engineer specs. So and initially that's kind of how, and it took me a while to get the team kind of really excited about the Pro Green as much as I wanted them to be, because they were kind of looking at it as another contract project that, maybe we didn't directly have the investment that we really do in the CO2 line. But it was similar to that, where we had to familiarize ourselves with bypass valves and that next level of control that we hadn't utilized, or we don't utilize on our standard R448 based system. So the education process has been good. We using the brazing, the copper alloy product, and I warned you, I'm not technical on it, but I know the process in the brazing, it is higher pressure, and we have all the different testing, but we got great technicians, and they handled all the
Yeah.
whatever skills that it took for us to advance up. And we'll be moving more and more to the stainless steel piping as we develop this line also. But for now, we were the brazing aspect of it has been manageable.
Yeah, that's amazing. And that's what it is. It's all about growing and getting your team involved, talking to them about it, getting them excited about it. Because I know I talked to quite a few people on your team, and they're just loving the CO2 side of it because it's different than what you're doing all the time. There's challenges, but there's so many neat and cool things to learn about
Yeah,
CO2. One of the things we talked about earlier is about the controls. You can see all these different parameters. It can help you troubleshoot a lot more. And if you run into an issue, you can kind of have a good idea if you know how to understand the data and what you're looking at. And this is
right.
what training and education is all about. And I know Damon's been probably key in the growth of your training.
Absolutely. Yeah. And getting I think our techs, we've had a techs go through your program and others. And I think that's been invaluable. I mean, that's so important, and it's ongoing. So I look forward. Yeah. And they never stop. I'm never, and not just me, but, in the group, we're always forwarding, things that we're seeing, or different, posts, or different things that would be of interest to the group. But no, it's nice to have that passion there, because for a long time, it's hard to get passionate about, converting from 4048 to R448. It's just,
Yeah.
it's hard to invest in that, other than obviously it's important. And I don't want to downplay, how important that's 90%, more than 90% of our business is manufacturing the best systems in R448. But, it's not like the step we're taking to offering
Yeah.
the natural solution, or the natural refrigerants.
Yeah, and what's so great about this is that there's so much more that you're going to learn about it. Right
Right.
now you have the design that you have, you're working on 100 horsepower, but I know for sure over the next 6 months, the next year, the next 2 years, you're going to work on a lot of new technologies, new developments. You could have ejectors, you can have parallel compression, you
Oh
can have
yeah.
a lot of different things that is going to still benefit your customers even more. And what I really like is that you're working closely with your customers on it. You know what I mean? And you're showing
Yeah.
them. I know once again I talked about Damon a few times, but he told me he's working close with them, showing them, walking them through the steps. which every manufacturer should be doing. But I know you guys go above and beyond to work with your customers, which I think is really cool because that builds trust in the relationship. And that's why they keep coming back. And that's why they're
Yeah.
willing to work on a project like you tell them, oh, we're going to work on CO2. Well, what's that? Well, it's going to be a big challenge and it's going to take a long time to get through this, but we want to try it together. And they're like, yeah, let's do it. You know what I mean? And that's what relationships are all about.
Yep. And that's how it's been. It's been great in that regard. Yeah, I
That
agree.
that is awesome. So what else can you tell us about pro refrigeration? Do you have any like slides that you might want to show or anything to talk about, or do you just
No, I mean, I have up our website. We have a dedicated website for the Pro Green solution that does kind of walk you through
yeah?
the process we took. There's some press releases and some information there. Um, yeah, I don't have too much. I'd be happy to share and walk us through there, but I could post the link also, or whatever you would suggest would be great. Um, but we're yeah, what I want to share is the, the past 18 months have been a hard uphill fight, learning CO2 and getting to where we are. And now really how I see it, the next phase is the to tell the story and quantify the value of it. And that's what that's really where we're immersed at now. And now more of my time is, how to help our customers write grant money, to apply for grants and find this funding and offset carbon credits and a whole nother path. But that's really what we're learning is going to be the next step, and especially here in the United States, where it's a harder argument to get people to do it. And we're fortunate to have the ROI argument on waste heat recovery and using that for their hot water source. And I think that's gonna help us see some real make big impacts on the dairy side, distilleries, breweries, wineries, bakeries. But yeah, the next step to get to the thousands and the quantities that you said, it's really going to be doing a better job of telling the story, and it's a much broader story than just heat recovery, from the climate and even on the COP, the efficiencies. It's with the advantage of the Danfoss controls. We use Danfoss as our rack controller, and with the advantages of all these, we are operating at lower COP at just about anywhere, if you put it head to head with our synthetic system. So that's that's a breath of fresh air also, that we're not having to sacrifice capacity by going to an alternative or to a natural solution. There really are not many arguments other than price at this point, which we're finding better ways to combat that.
Yeah. And so you were telling me you got a big event coming up in the next few weeks, one of the biggest
We got a
agriculture
lot,
events.
yeah. The next one is the World Ag Expo, World Agriculture Expo, which is in Tulare, California. And that's our biggest dairy related show. We have the World Dairy Expo, which is in Madison, Wisconsin. That's towards the end of the year. But those two are kind of the bookends for the dairy industry, and we're excited about that. We're going to have and the show happens to be the center of where these four installations are at. So we'll be shuttling people around during the conference to actually go out and see these. We're serving breakfast on one of the farms on one of the mornings of the show. So we're excited about that. And yeah, and having the involvement of the partners, and the dairy farmers and the dealers is really neat also. And that's my favorite part of is getting together at these trade shows and then taking people out to see it operating for real.
Yeah. So I think you're probably going to be the only chiller manufacturer or CO2 transcritical chiller manufacturer there. Is there any other that any other chiller manufacturers right now that are selling CO2 chillers, 100 horsepower or more?
Not CO2. Most of our competitors, the competition that we're seeing right now is they took the different path. I mean, which is legitimate, is they're looking at R410A and they're looking at the, how to transition away from the 404A.
Yeah.
And so that's I think that's what we're going to see a lot of. Not that I know every one of them And fortunately, I'm influencing them a little bit to look at it. But I think it will get more attention. There's some big companies involved in the dairy space, Gia, Alpha Laval, D Laval, so there's definitely a lot of European influence that will be coming over. And I think CO2 is not such a anomaly in Europe, as you know. So I think we'll quickly, yeah, we won't be the only one. We might be the only ones there this year, but um, I think on the horizon we'll see more
Yeah,
more
well, you
people
got a
taking the jump.
way bigger head start, which is amazing, and because it's all those little trial and errors, and those little things that you will only find out by putting equipment out in the field and working with your customers.
Right.
That's the big thing. That is the
Yeah.
big thing. So, how can people get a hold of you, get a hold of your company, get a hold of your team if they want to find out more about Pro Refrigeration and what you guys do and get involved maybe? Because I know there's a lot of people out there that are looking for a solution just like yours.
Absolutely. Prochiller.com. That's our website, and our team has a great job. It might be a little bit slow, but it's just because we got a ton of information on the site, and you can pretty much get to any department through that site. I'll be happy to put up my email address if anyone wants to contact me directly. We've got regional salespeople positioned around the United States that cover Canada and Mexico also. We'd be happy to talk to you, about any specific projects. I mentioned we do the contract manufacturing. That's a smaller part of our business, but we love to look at helping people with their projects too, especially if there's some crossover that might benefit our team and what we got going on. So it's yeah, that's how you can get a hold of us, and we'd be excited to talk to you about it. We'll be at we are going to be down at AHR. We're looking forward to having some people through at your seminar down at the air conditioning, heating, and refrigeration show. Is that next week already, or the
Yeah,
week after
already.
next? Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll have a group walking the aisles. We won't be exhibiting at that show, but we're excited about that. We've exhibited some in the past. This year we're just taking a group of our production people down and some of
Awesome.
our engineering team. So it'll be fun to get down to that show too.
Oh, this is so awesome. Yeah. So definitely check out prochiller.com. I'm on the website right now. You go to products and then you can go to Pro Green Solutions, showing all the different options that you guys have and partners you're working with on the CO2 product. Man, you look like you guys got some amazing equipment on this website. So it looks really nice what you
Thank
guys
you.
are designing and development. And what's so great is that you guys still want to learn. You still keep
Yeah.
learning. You still growing, changing. You don't mind the challenges, even though they're hard.
Right.
And you're going against the grain, and that's what's amazing about what you guys are doing in the industry. Super happy that you were able to take the time to come and chat with me on CO2 Mondays, Jim. Like that means a lot to me. Everyone, check out prochiller.com. Check them out on LinkedIn or any social media source. I know YouTube. You guys have a YouTube channel. I see
Yep.
Damon up there doing some videos, which is amazing. I want to
Yep.
thank you so much. I want to thank everyone for taking the time to listen to us today. It means a lot to me and Jim. We know that CO2 is the future of refrigeration, commercial refrigeration for sure. And we want to help you get to where you want to go. So see everyone at the next CO2 Monday. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Jim.
Thanks, Trevor.
Hey, thank you for watching this video. I do hope it is bringing you a lot of value. If you are looking to grow and build your refrigeration teams and want them to learn CO2 refrigeration, head to the refrigerationmentor.com website, click to contact us, and let us know how we can build a culture around training inside your organization. Let's get a conversation going.